Hello gamers, we are back at it again with a new format I just wanted to try. Basically it's just going to be a review on games I've played. It's most likely just going to cover recent releases for video games. As you can tell, this is going to be our first ever cash value video. I thought it was a cute little nod to, my name, so we're going with that, I think, for reviews. So I will be doing a review on Space Marine 2. Heads up, there will be spoilers, and I will warn for those spoilers. Space Marine 2 is a direct sequel of the first Space Marine, where you play as our main man, Titus, taking out the Tyranid threat. It's basically like the first game, but instead of orcs invading, it's those icky, nasty, no bugs. Space Marine 2 improves on everything the first game did. Combat feels very impactful. When you hit a bug, you fucking hit them. You feel like a big, bulky man doing big, bulky man things. This game is the definition of weighty. You move like you weigh hundreds of pounds, and you bash things like you do as well. My favorite part about the game is the parrying and dodging. As a Souls player, when you're surrounded by a bunch of enemies and keep parrying and perfect dodging over and over again, you really feel like you're a badass, like a proper Space Marine. Co-op, for the most part, is very smooth. Even playing with my friends who live on the other side of the ocean, I think I only ran into connection issues once. Other than that, it's been pretty smooth sailing. Graphically and aesthetically, the game is beautiful. You can take a pause at any moment in the game and just really stare in awe at the environments. I remember just sitting there and just staring at into space as I'm watching just the sky, really. And then just watching the Tyranids all swarming to attack the Cadians. It's gorgeous. It's so cool. Performance-wise, the game runs very well. In an age where 90% of the time games are a broken, buggy mess on release, Space Marine 2 is just a breath of fresh air. There are minor performance issues, of course, but for the most part, it runs incredibly well. This ties into the huge amount of enemies. I'm talking huge, hundreds. You'll, no joke, be fighting hundreds of enemies at a time, and for the most part, you'll not run into any performance issues, or if you do, it's very minor. The developers who had made Space Marine 2 also made World War Z, a game where there are also hundreds of enemies you fight, the zombies. So you know that they really just finally tuned that shit for Space Marine 2. I think the only time my machine was really just chugging, huffing, and puffing was when I was trying to record at the same time as I was playing. And now, with my glowing praise out of the way, we're going to talk about things I don't like. So let's get the spoiler-free stuff out of the way first. Music. I don't care for the music. It just wasn't impactful. I really like music in video games, and I don't think there's really been a single track that stood out to me. It just wasn't impactful. It didn't hit hard, which is a bummer, because games like Warhammer, Rogue Trader, and Darktide, they have amazing soundtracks. We would just listen to that. Me and my boy Math would just listen to Darktide soundtrack over Space Marine 2 because it's just way better. Another complaint I have is when you're really interacting with anything in the game, you'll still take damage. It's not even reduced damage at all. The full damage, you just take the full damage and you're locked into interacting until the little animation is complete. And enemy targeting when playing with bots is just frustrating too. Enemies will only target you. They will hardly ever target the bots. And when you're swarmed by hundreds, let me repeat that, hundreds of enemies, it makes getting through any mission above average difficulty a pain in the ass. I also found that the main story is weak, especially towards the midway point. And with that, we're going to spoiler talk. Spoiler talk, blah, blah, blah. So I really don't care for the second half of the game. With the space or the Chaos Marines, conceptually, I love them and their designs are just amazing. But it feels just so rushed, which just sucks. It feels like they rushed the Tyranid threat to get to the Chaos Marines in the beginning of the game. Then they make the Tyranids out to be horribly powerful creatures that are absolutely decimating planets. In the first few missions, they do a great job making them out to be a threat. However, they get cast aside quickly enough for Chaos Marines just way too soon. I really think they just mishandled the Tyranids. And then here's a good clip of how I felt leading up to the discovery of the Tyrant.
So this is the mission that go, right?
I like it. I just don't like the story wise.
Oh, the story.
Like, okay, so already big complaint. How the fuck does no one else know that the Tyrant is there? And then Titus looks at it for 2 seconds like, he's there!
Yeah, and
yeah.
No, and everybody, she just goes, "Are you sure?" It's like, "Yes."
Yeah.
Okay, then.
The only reason I could even like really imagine is just because he's probably fought against a lot of like Tyranids.
Yeah, but it doesn't give any
understand like that
explanation.
yeah, exactly.
You know, I thought he was going to be like, okay, do you see the concentration of enemies is bigger there, or like?
Yeah, there's literally no explanation, and yeah, that's one of my complaints. After you killed the Tyrant, which was off screen unless you do the operations, which are basically like the little co-op side missions, then that's it of the Tyranids. You're not fighting them anymore. They're done. They're dusted. They're fucking dead. You don't see them again. And then just keep this in mind, the campaign is like 10 hours long. You are fighting the Tyranids for maybe 4 hours before they just choke and die. I don't care for fighting. Oh my god, Jesus. I don't care for fighting the Chaos Marines in general. They are just like bullet eaters. You can empty like a full clip and some of them they still will just stand there. And I don't like their little minions, the Zongor. They're just a pain in the ass to fight. When you're fighting the Tyranids, if you kill the major enemies, the little minions will all die around them. That's not the case for the Chaos enemies. Chaos enemies. The little fucking minions will still be alive, all primed and ready to attack you as soon as you kill a major enemy. The shield ones are like especially annoying because it takes so many shots just to kill one, and typically you'll be surrounded by like 5 of them. Regardless of the complaints, I still really love the game. I have over 80 hours in it if it tells you anything. I just feel the game is a bit rushed, especially towards the end. The end, however, is fantastic. Like, that mission just pops off. It was incredibly hyped. I really enjoyed that mission. So for this game, I highly recommend people play it. It's just a blast all around. And that's it of the first episode of Cash Value. If you guys like it, I'll probably do some more. I do like just sharing my thoughts on games, so I'm thinking about doing more games, probably ones that are more newer releases. But yeah, it was a good time. Again, in the comments, let me know if you like it, and if you don't, well, fuck you. Ha!